All right.
What I'll do is I'll have Rachel reach out, just do a blanket email to all organizations, just getting an
Okay.
update on where they stand for 2020.
Okay.
All right. I have two questions. They really both of my questions involve the convention center and the water park. Question number one is, do we, and Josh isn't here, I'm presuming, so we may have to table this for another time.
Yes,
He's
ma'am.
down here.
I'm here.
Oh, you are there? I'm sorry, Josh, didn't see you.
That's okay.
So question number one. Since our funds were reduced this year because of COVID, legally, was there anything in our contract that we won and then lost and now we're paying again that states that we have to stay with that budget when we can prove we had shortfalls this year? In other words, if we could show we were down 30%, Josh, legally, can we cut theirs 30% to that? That's a proportion of our budget?
I'll have to look into that, but I think if you have the money to pay, you have to pay. I mean, we just can't shrink our overall budget if it's shrunk by 30%, but we can still make the payment. I'll look into that. That's the problem that was, I believe, evident when it was first entered into. I mean, you can't guarantee funds.
We weren't guaranteeing revenue.
Yeah, I mean, you can't guarantee income. A municipality or the A&P Commission, you can't guarantee. Case in point, COVID.
Exactly. And why can't we fight this then? But it was an unconstitutional agreement to begin with. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Go ahead.
Well, and for example, the water park. I mean, were they really even open this summer? I mean, think about their loss of revenue too. You would think that with their loss of revenue, because correct me if I'm wrong, Tyronda, every penny that we allocate to them, in excess of, almost $500,000 a year, isn't it every to both places supposed to be solely spent on advertising?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. That's what those funds
Have they been proven to us every year that they're spending that on advertising?
They were doing a good job a couple of years ago, and then it fell off again.
So when's the last time that they've proven to us that the money we're giving them is being spent on advertising?
I can go back and check that.
Thank you, because here's one of my points. If the water park wasn't even open, why do we have to give them $250,000 on advertising when clearly they didn't spend it on advertising? Josh?
Before you even brought up this question, I was looking for the agreements.
I think it says it has to be spent on advertising. It can't be spent just in their general budget.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And how can they justify $250,000 on advertising when they probably weren't even open this season?
Barbara Minor, I think I had people who told me that they were going to the water park, so I think it was open.
Yeah, I think it was open. I'm just not sure they did much about advertising.
Exactly.
Well, and the same thing with convention center. According to this, $234,200 solely for advertising.
It bears looking into.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the process on that?
And long story short, I'm doing analysis while we sit here, but
Okay.
I will look into that and provide y'all with a written explanation or what I think can be done or at least looked at.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
Rhonda, do they not turn in advertising receipts like every other business does and you cut them a check, or you just write them a check?
Well, they get monthly payments, and we stayed on top of them, and it was like, I'll be honest with you, it was like pulling teeth to get all the information that I need, and I would get them at year end. getting everything that I need, and it's been harder and harder, but I will get back on that to make sure to get that back in check.
For both entities?
Yes, sir.
Those were really the only two questions I had on the budget. Anyone else? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval of the budget in this strange and therefore strange budget.
I'd make a motion to approve, give it with those caveats that we had
Thank you. I was about to
discussed.
add that. Thank you, Brandon. Yes. Given that two of those things will definitely be looked into.
Those two and the one that Sandy mentioned about the ballgame.
Wonderful. Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
And I suppose, hang on, Tyrone is going to email everybody. And so, you know, this is a very strange motion, but I suspect there are going to be other cancellations as well once you send out that email.
Yes,
We
sir.
would then need to adjust the budget accordingly.
Well, what you can do is your motion can say that the trying to figure out how to word it, that the budget is approved pending adjustments for cancellations.
Great.
That way I can, as I get those, I can update those and send you a new budget without it having to be approved all over again.
Cancellations and the funding that you're going to check on for the water park and
The convention center
Convention Center.
and the ball game. Okay, very good. I've had a motion by Mr. Cogburn. I have a second. I think.
Barbara Minor, I
Barbara-
second the motion. Was it already seconded?
No, ma'am. I will take your second. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Tyrone, if you'll do a vote, please.
Varner. Commissioner Varner.
I think she's having sound issues. I just saw a pop-up of a message.
Yes, the chat came up that she was having
Yes.
issues.
Okay.
Thank you, Rachel.
Minor. Thank you, Rachel.
Yes.
Cogburn.
yes.
Teeters.
Yes,
Okay.
motion carries.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that's approval with the budget with the caveat of 3 things to check into along with updates when future events are canceled. All right, moving on. We have an update from the sales agency and I know Drew is here, so we'll turn it over to Drew.
Thank you. It's good to see you all, even if it is Zoom. So it's good to see you. We know obviously it's been a tough year for a lot of folks in a lot of ways. Hospitality industry, you know, is very much one of those areas that's been impacted. You know, you look at the state receipts being down 31% January through June compared to last year. And so you know that obviously what CDBs are facing. You know, I do want to obviously commend everyone in Texarkana, the surrounding areas. When you look at what restaurant, hotels, local businesses have done to adapt so quickly, I think really just the local support has been great to see. And so just really want to obviously thank everybody for doing what they can. And it's really been inspiring to see. And though I know collections are down, you know, your CVB compared to others is it's faring much better. And so that's something I just wanted to make note of. Today, you know, Mike is here, and then Krista is with us today. Krista's Brandon is familiar with Krista because they work very closely on the social media for Texarkana, and you know, Krista's here because as we start to kind of go through today's report, you're going to see that the investment that you guys made, I guess coming up in a couple of years now, is really paying off in the sense of even though our paid advertising has gone dark, based on everything. We do know that the social media and the organic search that is really helping right now as far as lending support to the hospitality industry there in Texarkana. And so Mike and Krista will kind of get into some of those specifics, but I think you'll see that's been really important. So I'm glad that you have built the following you have so quickly, because I really do think that's helped really, I mean, really with this whole entire pandemic. One of the things I wanted to ask the commission is that we have, when I look at the budget, we've spoken with the media reps, the media companies that we had contracts with for the advertising we were going to be buying and placing this year. And so when everything hit, of course, we wanted to not proceed with that right now because we wanted to kind of monitor the situation. We know we're having travel restrictions. We know that overall kind of research has shown right now there's still some hesitation with many travelers. So we have spoken with those media companies, and they have said that we can, there will be no penalties as long as we were to, we can shift that to 2021. And so it's just honoring those contracts in 2021 will avoid any sort of cancellation penalties. And for us, and in talking with Commissioner Cogburn, it was, our thought is that as hopefully as things improve in the coming months, hopefully as maybe a vaccination becomes available, that people will begin to get out more. And so our thought there is that we'll continue to let the social media and the organic kind of do the good work that it's doing. But then as far as any sort of really paid effort, we just want to make sure that the A&P has those resources available for when hopefully travel in the leisure category gets a little bit better. Same thing with the visitor's guide. There's no need to do a visitor's guide, so we've kind of tabled that. So as I look through this year's budget, there's definitely places where, if, with your permission, we would like to allocate those funds to be executed in 2021 from this budget versus now. And so that is a question to the commission.
So you're saying then the money we had already allocated to you guys will just roll over to 2021 and then adjust that next year's budget, correct, Drew?
Correct, that is correct. So, because I look at this budget, for instance, there's this is looking at the spreadsheet that we send Tyronda and her group when we do the invoices. I look at like a photography bill. We've got some photography coming up at the end of October, doing some video work at the end of October. But I know that we're not going to probably hit all of that, right? So there will be money left there, which then again, if we could also, move that, roll that over to next year, because we know that could, very well will come in handy and to have for further promotion of 2021. So, I definitely know what that media number is today, and I know what that brochure number is today. Those other numbers, as we accrue that time, I'll have a better idea for you, obviously, at the end of the year. But I just at least wanted to ask that question and see if that was a possibility.
Okay, do I have any discussion from the board on that request? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for the reallocation of funds for this year's budget. Any that was not spent by the sales agency can be rolled over and incorporated into next year's budget.
I'll make the motion to reallocate the funds to sales agents.
Second. This is Varner.
Thank you, Ms. Varner. Tyronda, if you'll Roll call for me, please.
Garner,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Cogburn,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
The vote
Okay.
passes 4-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you all. And Mike,
Now,
I'll
Mike and Krista.
turn it over. I'll turn it over to you two. If there's no questions for me, I'll turn it over to those two.
Okay,
Thank you.
y'all buckle up. I'm gonna go fast.
Oh.
Can you see, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting that to pop up. Sorry for the excitement.
That's okay. So first thing, most of the time when we show you our reports, they are either monthly or quarterly. This is a January through September report, and I'm gonna just highlight a couple of things, and then I'm gonna kick it over to Krista because she is a lot better and is more interesting than I am. So on slide 2, 13,437 users to the website. That is down 27% year over year, or approximately 4,500 fewer users to the website. The context of that is that traffic sent to the website from advertising, which there has been none this year, was 6,800 last year. So we have 6,800 fewer users going to the website being driven there by our advertising, but our overall users to the site is only down 4,500.
That's good.
So a net gain from all other sources. As you'll see, the largest source here is social at 10,607, and that is an increase of about 1,200 users, or 16% increase. And then organic search. So when y'all heard us talk when we were building the website about SEO, and I know a couple of people said, what the heck is SEO? And the answer was, well, SEO is doing things on your website to make sure that it can be found when people are searching for something that's on your website. That's organic traffic, and our organic traffic is up 68% year over year. That is part. One of the things about that is that if you had tried to launch a website at the beginning of last year, that would not have happened. So it's good that we've had some time in the saddle, if you will. And then our top cities, amazingly, Texarkana, Texas, traffic increased 2.5% year over year. Traffic from Texarkana, Arkansas was down a little bit. Everybody else, other than I think Grapevine for some reason, every other locale was down, and that was largely driven by advertising. But personally, we love seeing Texarkana, Texas traffic increase, because one of our main goals is to get people in Texarkana, Texas to come to Texarkana, Arkansas to eat out. And so that was a good sight to see. And top 10 pages, you will see that the first and third are blog articles. The top one being that came out in late March, which restaurants are offering curbside and delivery options. And then skip down one, which restaurants have dine-in. Those 2 pages accounted for 30% of all page views on your website, January through September. So when Drew talks about the ability of the social media and the website to continue to support the people that are paying the taxes, i.e. the local restaurants primarily, what's happened to this year with social media and with your website and promoting and letting people know we are a source of where you can get what has worked very well. And now I'm finished. Krista, take it away.
Okay. That was very quick. I'll try to be quick. So I tried to kind of think about the first 9 months of this year and think about some high level what has worked so well, because like Mike just talked about, we sent more people from social media to the website than ever before the first 9 months. So that's a really great sign that obviously people are still engaged and very much interested in all the information that's on there. People have been very engaged on social media. I mean, obviously with the pandemic, we know that in general, people were for at least several months on social media a lot more. And that trend has, for the most part, continued. So it's really a great sign that people are on there, but they're also stopping on our content and engaging with it. So really, I think that it's been a really strong year for our Texarkana on social media. So on the Facebook and Instagram pages. I wanted to highlight that we've grown our following, despite the craziness of this year. We've still gotten 1,300 new followers on Facebook, which comes out to a total of 7,710. So we've got a really good number of people following along on Facebook. Engaged users, that 87,504 engaged users in the first 9 months, that is up 27% from the same period in 2019. So a lot more people following, but also more people actually engaging with the Facebook page. So that is a really good sign from the Facebook side of things. And Mike, you can go to the next slide. You can go to the next one. So this was, I sent basically the top 2 posts from Facebook and from Instagram the first 9 months. This was actually just posted last month in September. And this is just the announcement or the bigger announcement post. We had already posted about B&J's Downtown Diner, but this was one where we really elaborated on what they offer and attached several photos to kind of give people an idea of the array of things they can get there. And it just absolutely blew up. It reached 44,000 people. Was shared 223 times and got over 1,600 engagements, which is really awesome. So that was the #1 from the first 9 months. This was the #1 post on Facebook this year so far. So that is great. And hopefully we'll see a translation into more people trying B&J's, whether they're going there for dine-in or picking it up to go.
Okay, I have a question about that, and we can get into that later on the agenda. But Tyronda, on this list that I have dated October of actually who we have that are on the restaurant list, and B&J doesn't show up on either of our list, if you get my drift.
I'm sorry, I'm just talking over here and I'm muted.
Okay, sorry.
That's fine. Will it be okay if I call you after the meeting? Because we've had some discussion with them. So will it be fine if I call you and give you an update?
Okay, sure. I just want to say, if this was our top post, then they certainly need to be on our radar.
Yes, ma'am. They are.
What did you say, Tyronda? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I'm going to call her, Director Varner, after the meeting, and I can call you as well and kind of give you an update on what's going on with them.
Can we go, when we talk about that, there's a place on the agenda that everybody except the commissioners and the staff where we talk about, let me see what there's not a number.
I would kind of like to know now.
You got to be very careful with all of that for yeah, the sake of the business. So it'd be best if we either discuss in this executive session or I'll call you after the meeting.
Okay, we can talk in executive session.
Okay.
Okay. So the
Sorry, I interrupted, Krista.
Oh, no, that's a great question. So
See, Krista, I knew you were going to take longer than me.
no, that was a very legitimate question. So
She's just more thought provoking and it prompts these questions than you are.
You have no earthly idea.
Questions come to mind, and that will probably continue. No. So the next most popular post on Facebook was the curbside blog that Mike mentioned when he was going over the website stats that had the 6,000 page views and, you know, almost 3 minutes of people spending time on that page on the website. So it did really, really well. It reached 27,000 people and got over 4,000 link clicks to the website, which was definitely the biggest driver of traffic from social to the website, which kind of touches on one thing I wanted to mention about our social strategy this year. As the pandemic kind of reached its peak in terms of how it was impacting local businesses and restaurants and causing them to adapt, we really had to adapt our social media strategy too. And so we shifted our focus from, you know, what was normally just about, I mean, for the most part, obviously we still highlighted restaurants, but we had to change the language we used and really encourage people to use curbside and delivery and safe things, at least near the beginning when dine-in wasn't really an option. So our messaging on social has largely this year so far been about supporting local businesses, about how the Texarkana community can kind of come together to do that and to kind of make it through this crazy year together, about ways that local restaurants innovated to serve customers. And we really highlighted outdoor activities that were, you know, considered more safe necessarily than indoor. So, and that includes parks, public art, going to see all the murals, Millwood Lake, the frozen rail, outdoor seating area. So all of those wonderful things, we wanted to make sure we hit on that. And those are just ways that we kind of adapted as the year kept throwing things at us. So Mike, you can go to the next one. And then we'll talk a little bit about Instagram. We got 1,130 new followers on Instagram. Our total is 3,939 at the end of September. Now it's really close to 4,000. So we're about to fall over that next little benchmark that we've got. And so that's exciting. And we, in terms of website visits, the visit website, we had 1,412 clicks, which was up 90% from the same time last year. So it kind of shows again that our social is driving more people to the website, which is ultimately one of our bigger goals. We don't just want them to like and comment, although that is a goal, but we want them to take the next step and learn more about a restaurant that we're featuring, or even get the visitor's guide and consider visiting. Okay, and you can do the next one, Mike. And then it's interesting, the top two posts on Instagram were actually the same. This one I used a different photo, but this is the curbside blog again. It reached 41,000, got 715 engagements, which is the most of any post this year so far, so that's great. And 70,755 impressions. You can do the next one, Mike. And the last one is, again, that B&J's Diner. So just to remind, this is the last slide too. So this will remind you guys to kind of follow up on that y'all were gonna talk about. But it reached 20,000 people, 495 engagements, 36,926 impressions. So again, the same kind of really continuing to focus in on that, supporting local restaurants and doing so in a way that's safe. And I think that messaging has really resonated with people because they want to continue to make sure that their favorite restaurants are supported and stay there, and they want to do that in a way that's safe for them and their family. And I think that it's gone really well. We've engaged with a lot of people on social media this year, so hopefully that following will just continue to grow. And that's kind of all I had on the social side.
Thank you, Krista.
Yeah.
Could you also mention, I think we got an email. I don't know if it's Drew or Mike or Krista. Can we brag a little bit on something that we won for?
Drew, Mike, you take that one. It's good, and we will. Just so you know, we have ordered that hardware for you, so we will be getting that your way, and that'll be something that you guys can proudly showcase. But Mike, go ahead and relay the news, please.
So there's the local, the Central Arkansas Advertising Federation, the Public Relations Society of America, Arkansas chapter, and the International Association of Business Communicators go together to put on really the only advertising, marketing, public relations award ceremony in Central Arkansas that's statewide. And 3 years ago, they decided to name the Best of Show Award, which is the one single award that the judges, who are all from out of state, determined was the best work that they saw in all of the entries. The Texarkana, our Texarkana complete campaign, social media, video, advertising won the Best of Show in that award this year. So we were very happy on your behalf to receive that pretty prestigious award.
Excellent.
And it also won a gold award. You have to win one award, I think, to win the Best of Show. So, but the judges, I think, were from Virginia this year, and they really commented. They had really good things to say, and including things like, "Dadgum, I didn't know Texarkana was so cool. We should go there." So,
come on down.
I know, come on.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity that y'all have given us to work with you and to be able to do good work, and we appreciate
Thank
it
you
more than
too
you
for
know.
doing good work on our behalf. We appreciate it.
And we also want to say thanks to Commissioner Cogburn. I know that this year it's been tough on everybody, and everybody's busy, but he's always making himself available to us, and we really appreciate it.
Always. Sometimes you have to email me twice before I answer.
But you always get back. So,
All right. Thank you so
all.
much, sales agency. Appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all.
Any other questions before we move on to the next item? Okay. Thank you, guys. All right. Next item on the agenda is the reallocation of matching grant funds for the Texarkana Recreation Center.
So Chairman Taters, can I ask you a question?
Yes, you may.
Do y'all have a preference for whether we depart the meeting, stay on the meeting?
You are welcome to go. I mean, if you feel inclined, Mike, you're welcome to stay, but I won't get my feelings hurt if all three of you leave the meeting.
Well, I just did, if it's time for us to leave, say so.
Okay, it's time for you to leave. I'll pull your arm.
Okay.
You may leave. Bye. Thanks. Okay. Texarkana Rec Center, reallocation of matching funds. Someone here from Public Works, I think I saw.
Yeah, I'm here, Adam Dalby, Parks
There
Department.
you are, Mr. Derby. Thank you.
We're asking to reallocate the $69,160 that was set aside for matching funds through the Arkansas Parks and Tourism Grant. We ended up not getting that grant, but we would like to use that money along with CDBG dollars to do the work there at the Boys and Girls Club fields.
Make a motion to reallocate the funds.
Brandon Cogburn's made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Farner. If I have a first and a second, Ms. Farner, Tyrone, if you'll call the roll, please.
Sorry, y'all. Varner,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Cogburn,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
The vote passes 4-0.
Okay. That was fairly simple, Mr. Dalby. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we did correct the Regional Music Heritage Center. I do believe Ms. Carr
Yes.
sent out an email to get removed from the agenda, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
All right. So next, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Let's go back one more and reallocate 4 states fair funds for 2021. Because I do believe I saw Brent
Yes,
on
ma'am.
here.
There he is.
There you are, Brent. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Commissioners. What we're asking you to do when COVID set in, you y'all had approved us a 3-year commitment. This was the last year of that commitment for the $100,000 that is using to pay a loan that for those projects. We stopped those projects when COVID hit, just trying to make sure we keep doors open. And because we normally get allocated funds for to have and hold events in the upcoming years, you're not doing a funding request. And so what we're asking to do is reallocate the remaining balance of that 3-year, of this last of the 3-year commitment to be used to have and hold events in the rest of this year and in 2021. We'll have to use those, as my understanding, before March. We'll have to request those funds before March in the first quarter of next year. But we do have on the books for next year. We have on the books for this year. We have brought in a new livestock show. That's the Arkansas Junior Cattlemen's Livestock Show in November. They're partnering with the Arkansas Convention Center for the hotel rooms. And so that's going to be a weekend, Thanksgiving weekend this year. We hosted our livestock, went ahead and moved forward and hosted our livestock show for the 4 States Fairgrounds in September. That brought people into the town all week. We've still got a good calendar of events of our horse and our livestock shows. Our ticketed events is where we haven't had any ticketed events since the shutdown. We were able to open back up in May with our equine and our livestock events. And so just to give y'all an update, we had Lucky Dog barrel races last weekend. This coming up weekend, moving in Friday, is Watson Team Roping. And then next weekend, the Senior World Barrel Race has already got folks, they're saying 13 states represented that will be in town for that. So what we're asking again is to have the balance of our funds that you've already allocated to us be changed over where we could use those to have and hold events.
Brent, or maybe Tyrone, do you know what the balance is?
Yes, sir. It's $83,166.
I'd make a motion to reallocate those funds to 2021.
Okay, I have a
I will
motion.
second that.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Cogburn and a second, I believe, from Ms. Varner. We'll do a roll
Yes.
call, please, Ms. Henderson.
Varner,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Cogburn,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
The motion carries 4-0.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Keep bringing in those people, Brent. Spend
We're working
money.
hard at it. It has been a hard year, no doubt.
Yeah.
I understand. It has. All right, next on the agenda, I may want to move delinquent taxes down because we talked about going into executive session. So if it's okay with the commission, we'll move other business up for a moment and see if there's anything else that needs to be addressed, because it looks like maybe the A&P taxes, because we have some specific questions, we may have to go into executive session on that one. So do I have any other business that anyone would like to bring before the commission? All right, hearing none, I'd request a motion for us to move into executive session.
Well, I don't think you can move into executive session just to talk about delinquent taxes.
No,
It
well,
has to
you're
be-
right. Talk about specifics. Right. So I guess we can hear a report on the delinquent taxes, Josh, in general. But if we want to talk specifics, like Ms. Henderson said, then we would need to go into executive
Sure.
session. Okay, I'm sorry.
I want to talk specifics, so just get ready.
Director Varner, since this is on live stream to YouTube and Rachel is the host of the meeting, unless she knows another way, the only way I know how to do it is to end this meeting completely and to start a new meeting with only the people that are in executive session, if that makes sense.
Right.
Basically,
I know
you end and adjourn this meeting and then do a meeting just for executive session.
But then with the end of that, would we have to come back and then adjourn our regular meeting? Isn't that true? Because
Well, we can't go into executive session to talk about delinquent taxes. You're limited as to what you can go into executive session for, and it's considering employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, or resignation of any public officer or employee. So we can't just go into executive session to talk about
just for
delinquent.
delinquent taxes.
But we can't talk about specifics for delinquent taxes in a
But
normal
we can
meeting
talk generally.
right, Josh?
Correct.
Okay.
So we will discuss delinquent taxes in general. And then we'll adjourn the meeting. And then if anyone has specifics on taxes, they will just reach out to you, Ms. Henderson, and or Josh to discuss individual cases. Is that correct? Is that the only way we can handle that?
That's yes. You know, an open meeting, I believe, is 2 or more board members or employees. So
Right. So it'd have to be just one-on-one with you or Tyronda, and no, it wouldn't be, we couldn't have 2 commissioners, in other words, talking to you or Tyronda about this, about a
Correct.
specific
correct.
entity.
That would be correct. That would be an open meeting, and it would have to be
Right.
noticed to the public and have the media allowed to be there.
Right. Exactly.
So if anybody has any questions about specifics, they can call me. I'm sure they can call Taronda, but we just can't have a group of 3 of us talking about anything
Right.
related to the A&P Commission. So
Because that's in violation of the Fair and Open Meetings Act or whatever.
correct.
Okay. All right. All right. So, well, I have a couple of questions. I mean, I know we've sent out letters, but I mean, what is our recourse, Josh, when they just keep ignoring us? I mean, what do we do?
But
Well-
we can file those certificates of judgment that we haven't been filing.
Yeah. The certificate of indebtedness.
Yes.
Now, we have a few of those on file. A lot of these that you have on your October delinquent list,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of them are old, but as you can imagine, there's a lot new ones. There's new ones considering the state of the restaurant business in the last 9 months. Now that is no, if you don't make any income, right? If your business was shut down in March or April, guess what? You file your paperwork and say we collected 0 taxes because we weren't open. A lot of these don't even provide that information. Okay. If they sold 1 sandwich, then 2% of that is what we need. And they're failing to remit those. I think what the issue was earlier is we may have, well, I know we have people that aren't on the delinquent list, but they're also not on the paid list.
That is correct.
And there are some.
And I
food
know
vendors-
they're open and have been open
Yeah.
because I've been there.
There are some food vendors downtown that are operating that I assume did not know that they had to accept and remit taxes.
Anybody.
I think there's an agreement that they sign
They
Yes,
do.
with
Well,
code
they can get
enforcement.
behind it. Mhm.
Well, and,
Even the food trucks.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
They have to
Everybody-
have a license or they can't serve food.
Mhm.
okay. I've spoken to them. I do not know how long they have been operating. They are not on the delinquent list either. But what is our recourse? We file that certificate of indebtedness, and we collect it. Now, some of these that we have them on have shut down, don't own any property, don't have a building on anything. It's going to be difficult to collect. However, it is considered a filed judgment, just like if somebody doesn't pay their credit card bill and they get sued, or you don't pay your property taxes. It's a
And then that becomes public record. Is that correct, Josh? Once it's filed, it becomes public record?
That's correct.
Okay, because I'm going to talk specifics, but you have a copy of that list. Look at the bottom one on that list of page 2.
They've been open a year.
Yes, and have not put in a penny.
Okay.
And I know they're open. Brandon, you and I have eaten there.
One time.
Yeah,
Well,
one time.
And
But they were open last week. I drive by there on a daily basis. There's also another one that's not on either list that I specifically, I ate at this place. They gave me a receipt when I paid my tab. They're not even charging the 2%. And so I emailed the owner and said, are you aware you're supposed to be doing that? And she never replied back to me.
She knows because she signed the paperwork to get the license, or else someone in her back, right?
I wanted her to know she was supposed to be charging it because we were wanting ours. You know, that even if she doesn't collect it, she still owes it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sandy, I believe. Go ahead, Tarana.
I was going to say is anytime a new business comes in, we now have them sign a document stating that they have received all A&P information and that they are aware that they are required to pay the tax. We send that information out with every single.
Remit the tax.
Yes. Yes.
They collect it, or most of them are collecting it.
Correct.
Maybe this one Sandy just mentioned is not, but they're collecting it and just not remitting it. They're collecting it from their customers and not remitting it.
It's staying in their cash registers.
Or their bank account.
Back pocket.
Well, I promise you, Pops would very much like to have our 2% for the last year as an interest-free loan.
Isn't that the truth?
Right.
And that's why this is so frustrating.
And it is very frustrating because I see folks that are not paying, and I see, you know, our little place, which is a fraction of what some of these other places are bringing in, and they're not paying it. And I promise you, if you're talking about, I mean, you're talking, you know, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a year they might owe. We're not talking about a little bitty bit of money, and it makes me mad.
I don't blame you, Ms. Varner.
We've tried
Josh,
to
there are
address
others
that
on that
before.
list on that same page that Sandy was talking about that have been open since April of 19, and it doesn't look like time.
And the only notes I see in here is, hey, we sent them a letter, and evidently they're not paying their mixed drink tax either. And it has not been followed up on since March 3rd.
Yes, ma'am. But we were asked to send our delinquent list to Josh every month, and then Josh would send out those letters.
That's not my, yeah, that's the city. That's the finance department sending letters. That's not me.
Okay.
So the letters,
what do we have to do to get Josh to send a letter out? Do we need, I mean,
no,
we can't say it in open meeting.
I send the letters out.
Are they ignoring them, Josh?
Some of them are, some of them are not. Even today, I think the one that you've talked to, or you're talking about that is not on the list, there's some issues about the, you know, they have a CPA and the CPA is supposed to be paying it. So whatever.
Well, but they weren't even collecting it.
Do what?
The one we're talking about that we were talking about earlier that's not on either list, they're not even collecting it. I mean, go downtown and eat. I mean, go down to that restaurant and eat something and get your ticket. Because it's not on there.
I've done that. And
well, I have too.
But Tyron's staff has told them point blank they have to collect it. So they're ignoring city regulations. They shouldn't have a license anymore.
Okay, well, Josh, why haven't we filed these certificates of indebtedness on every one of these businesses on this list?
Some of them, the time has not, since I sent the first letter and started it, some of them, the time hadn't run yet.
And what happens a lot, what I'm seeing that's happened is we let these people get so far in over their head, then they're just going to pull up stakes and move somewhere else and open under another name, and they're not going to pay us again.
Well, I know that
We've
one
got
that's been
some
open
people
years
on this
probably not
list
gonna do that. It's been a lot of
That
that
money.
have had
opening
more
the
than one
business
restaurant.
paths.
That's true. That's true.
And I'm
I
not
want
being
certificates.
anti-business.
I want certificates filed on every one of those businesses.
What is their length of time
Is it
in
90 days?
response? 90 days?
I
No,
never thought it was.
Uh-uh.
Josh, how much time are they
it's-
given after a
it's longer than,
certificate?
I believe it's longer than that. It may be
Oh.
120 days.
120.
Oh,
Okay.
goodness. Hmm.
So 4 months before
Yeah.
they even have to respond.
Have to even, yeah.
Now, the only question I had, Tyronda, and I'm not saying they didn't, I didn't know whether the food trucks or the mobile food people, I didn't know what they did through y'all.
The city now issues a permit to all of them, and they follow the same process as all other restaurants. They have to come up, they have to sign a paper that says that they've received all their documentation from finance, and that they are aware that they need to let us know when they open, and that they're aware of the A&P taxes. And they get all of that information before they leave here. And they have to take that back down to Public Works before they can even receive their permits.
Okay.
So there's no legal standing or excuse for them to argue they didn't know about it. They do.
Right.
Because they don't get a permit until they sign it.
Correct.
And so they can't use the excuse, I didn't know.
And we've had that in place ever since Commissioner Cogburn recommended that that's the process that we follow. So we've been doing it ever since then.
Mhm.
Do we have
a-
any city response that can be made to that? Like
City
code
cannot.
enforcement?
That's what I was going to ask Josh. Josh, if the Public Works is issuing the permit, and if they fall X number of months or years into arrears, can the city revoke that permit?
Well, that goes back into when we initially passed the collection ordinance. We tried, every other city in Arkansas has that enforcement provision. Now, you can't lock somebody's door
Right.
or, take the wheels off their cart. But there was teeth to it. Okay. When we passed the ordinance, God, 3 years ago, we tried to include that teeth where we could actually, do some things where we may get paid other than obtain a judgment, but it was not looked kindly upon with the city.
By
because
whom?
of our business.
By whom?
The
The city manager?
I believe so.
City council?
I believe so, because they were the ones that had to pass it.
So why is making someone pay what's due to them considered anti-business? I would like the city council, we got two of them on this. I'd like for you all to answer that question for me.
Well, they weren't on the city council back then, I can tell you that.
The only thing that's been brought to us, Commissioner Varner, is the one that we did about starting to send out these letters. And I think, Josh, was that about a year and a half ago?
That's what he's talking about, Linda.
Right. But,
Well,
and I
but
was-
this,
They took the teeth out of it. All we can do is file a letter, and we tried to get.
teeth in it. No, there was never teeth in it. I think Josh said they were trying to add it. The only thing that's ever been brought to the board about the A&P Commission and this idea that we can file these letters, we approved it unanimously. I take that back. 6-1 was the vote. It wasn't
Well,
unanimous, but it was 6-1. Right, Barbara?
we drafted the ordinance as it was, as every other city in Arkansas does it. And I think we took it to Dr. Haskins and maybe George to review. I don't know what happened after that, but I think it was basically, hey, we don't need to do this. We don't need to put this in there. This needs to be taken out. If you keep it in there, businesses are just going to go to Texas.
So they took the teeth out of what we asked for. Is that right, Josh?
Yes. And
they took the teeth out and basically made it a moot point.
Well,
we still can serve the letters and it can still be public record.
We had more power. And off the top of my head, I believe we could, if they paid the tax, we could go get their or see their financial records, among other things. And that's not in the ordinance. That's
okay.
Not in the
what do we have to do as an A&P commission today to get the people that are on this list, and I'm talking about every single one of them, paperwork served so that we can go forward and make this public record?
We need to finish the time that's running on the letters they already have.
So you're telling me everybody on this list has received a letter?
On the October list?
Yes.
They have received a letter.
Everybody on this list?
Yes.
So at the maximum, 120 days from today. But minimum, some of them are getting close to their 120s.
So it's less than that, yeah.
Right. But some of these may have a couple of months to go.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have some sort of a list or something, Josh, that you have when you sent those letters out?
Yeah, I can provide that to y'all.
Can you provide that without it being a violation of?
I can, yes, violation of Arkansas law. Yes, I will provide that to you.
So you'll let us know the date of that every letter went out.
Yes.
And who has responded? Has anybody responded by paying taxes?
Yes, a few people have.
A couple have disappeared. I assume it's because they got a letter and
paid it.
They've been on there before and then go off once you send them a letter.
Correct.
Now, let me ask you this. Because of COVID, are we still, I mean, if they can show that they were shut down, Josh, I mean, literally, they may not owe us for some of these months if they can show the paperwork that they were shut down, right? So some of these numbers, they can prove they were shut down. They may not be delinquent for some of these months because they would owe us zero.
But that's, they are required to turn in that information every month. Right. I mean, if you don't, whether you owe or you don't owe anything, I mean, that's how we know. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyronda, do they turn the information into the state and then the state gets back with you? Is that the way that works?
No, ma'am. They have to send us a copy of their state tax form so that we can confirm that they're paying their taxes correctly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So that's why some of them may have the note that they paid the taxes, but they didn't send the forms and documentation that goes along with it so that we can confirm that the amount is correct.
Okay. So some of them may be done. We just don't know that it was correct.
Yes, and it's notated on the delinquent tax list.
Gotcha.
Okay, and Tyronda, on the one that we've been speaking about that's at the bottom of that second page, it says you sent a letter in March informing them of the 2% A&P tax and the 5% mixed drink tax.
Yes,
Can you tell me if they're caught up on the mixed drink tax?
I will go back and look at that.
Okay, because wouldn't that be a violation of the alcohol and beverage? And they can damn sure pull their license.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to know that, please.
Especially if some of these businesses, not naming any, but if any of these businesses are heard, and I have heard it through a couple of people, that they're terribly anti the tax and anti A&P commission, it's almost like they're willfully not paying it to prove a point.
I'll be honest with you. My husband has threatened that, Linda.
I
And
understand,
he said,
Sam.
what can they do to me? Y'all not, I mean,
Exactly.
he's threatened.
And I've heard one or two of the owners on this list say that in public, that they didn't have any intention of collecting it because they didn't think it was right.
Well, no, they're collecting it. They're just not turning it in.
Yeah, which is a whole new level of fraud and
Yes. Delinquency, fraud.
I'd almost call it embezzlement, but
It's theft. Is what it is.
it is theft.
Call it
Yeah.
what it is. It's theft.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is theft. It is. Well, Josh, thank you. If you will update the dates on all those letters, if we can
I
keep a
will.
close watch on the 120 days. And
And
Tyronda, if we can follow up and see and remind these businesses, if they were closed down, they need to provide you proof so that we can show that they don't owe any taxes.
Okay.
Any other ones that I left out?
And Commissioner Teeters, I was looking up the details on the stuff you talked about before,
Gotcha.
convention center and the water park, and I believe it says in the contract for operation and maintenance. But I'll still look at it.
Research that
and
for me. I really thought
I'll
it was
shoot you.
bad. All right. Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it, Josh.
All right.
All right. Do we have any other business matters to discuss on A&P taxes? We could do this all night. But
I apologize, but I am very passionate about that. And y'all
No,
know
I-
we've been
I was-
talking about it for years.
I know,
would-
I agree with you
I would
completely.
like to read, I'd like to read part of the Arkansas code. Because this exemption that we've been talking about where you can't disclose or make this information public,
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Cogburn.
2519-105B23B says, however, this exemption does not apply to information or other records regarding the total taxes collected under, and then it cites the code.
That's correct.
So I'm not sure that, so I think maybe it can be public knowledge what the total taxes collected are. So for example, if the total taxes collected is 0, which some of it is, then I think that can be public information.
Commissioner Cogburn, I'll have to get with you, but we actually received addition, it's under FOI laws. And the
That's
FOI
what I
law-
quoted, was the
Okay,
Freedom of
that's what I
Information Act.
that they changed because we used to be able to release that information.
I understand, but I am reading the most current version.
Okay, then. Well, if there, I will send the change that we have to you, and let you see that. And if we need to handle something differently, we don't mind doing that at all. But I know that was changed a couple years back.
I know it was changed, and I know why it was changed. I know who got it changed.
Okay, did they change it again since then?
No, but I'm just saying that,
Okay.
that 23A says information related to taxes collected by particular entities under this act, it's not disclosable. However, this exemption does not apply to information or other records regarding the total taxes collected. I guess I'm giving a little law school lesson here that you can't just stop reading at the first part of a statute. You have to read the entire statute.
Yes, sir. And the way that we understood it, in the way that it was explained to us, even by our city attorney, is that when someone asks about the taxes paid from a particular organization, we cannot disclose that amount. We can only disclose the total A&P taxes paid that were, the total A&P taxes collected. But I'll be sure to get some additional information on that.
I think the reasoning behind that, and of course, I certainly don't know, but I think the way somebody explained it to me one time was, if you disclosed how much they paid in A&P taxes, then someone that knows the tax rate could flip it over and work backwards and then know what their revenue was, and that's what's illegal.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
That's exactly what it was explained to me.
Brandon, is that?
Well, I don't think that's why this was passed. I know why this was passed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you know later.
I agree with Brandon on why it was passed, but
Good or bad, that's yeah, okay, gotcha. All right, well, if there's no other discussion, except for we do have some tasks assigned. We certainly aren't closing the delinquent A&P taxes, but we've got some things that several people are checking into, and we will bring it up in either a special called meeting if necessary, or our regularly scheduled meeting in January. Do we have any other business to discuss? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to second, Barbara.
Okay, roll call. Oh, no, we
Barner?
can say all in favor this time, can't we?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
gonna
that'll-
vote by clicking this button.
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Linda.
Bye. Sandy, we're gonna
Bye,
work on it.
everybody.
I promise. I understand your frustration. It's not fair.
It
It's
seems
not
like
fair.
I've been beating the same dead horse for as
I
many
know.
years as I've been on this commission.
I know. And we'll keep it. We'll do whatever we can legally. I'm on your side, I promise.
Yep. Me too.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.